Yes, sir.
All right. I'd like to call the Board of Trustees meeting to order. We'd all stand for pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remember that. Thank you all. Roll call.
Maloney,
Here.
Sagami, Ronan,
Here.
Ermeling, Hardinger,
Here.
Ensenalt,
Present.
Wyland.
Public comments. I do have one here submitted. Anyone else have a public comment for this evening? You do? Okay. Why don't, I'm gonna read this one here first, then we'll call you your name and address for the record. This one here was forwarded to one of the trustees. It's from Jamie Schley, I believe. I met her over when we were trying to, when we were possibly changing Schofield Avenue. She has a business on Schofield Avenue, a very good one. And she writes, "Hi, Jim," as in Jim Pensinel. "Thanks for serving on the Village of Weston Board. I truly hope that this message isn't too late to take action. I am aware that the village is contemplating a roundabout at the Schofield Avenue Camp Phillips intersection. Based on the traffic going through this intersection each day, I would be absolutely opposed to a roundabout. They are confusing the drivers, and I feel that it would create way more problems and accidents than the current stoplight controls. As a business owner in the Weston Marketplace, the roundabout would also inhibit traffic coming into and leaving our parking lot. A better idea would be to fix the major hump in the middle of the intersection so that people traveling north don't catch air if they're traveling a little too fast. Thanks for reading. If you'd like to follow up with me, I'd be happy to talk about any of my concerns. Kind regards, Jamie." All right, that's number one. Yeah. You definitely catch air there, that's for sure. Yeah. Right, sir, you're up. You can state your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. Luis Lopes-Rao, 6105 Rodney Street in Weston. First, no offense to that person, but I'm a huge advocate for roundabouts. I think if you look at the actual information out there about the safety that they help in our community and communities across the state, it's a huge plus. I get it's a busy intersection, but I think we should actually put some facts behind and have a study to make sure that it's something that's good or bad before we make a decision. The reason I'm actually here is because last fall I reached out to the Everest Metro Police Department about getting minutes and agendas for the various committees that oversee that department. I was told, so when you go to their website, there's a link for it. I went to a broken annual report, didn't give me any information. When I go to the Weston website, it says go to the Everest Metro website. So they finally took that information after a few months and finally said, those are being put on the Weston website now. If you go to the Weston website for those various committees, there are now agendas on there. I don't know if it's all the agendas, but there are a few out there. There are no meeting minutes for this year at all for both committees. There are no minutes for another whole committee for last year, and there's sporadic ones for last year for the other ones. So I'm just looking for that to be corrected so that there can be some transparency and information can be shared to the community about what's happening with our police department. So,
and normally there's nothing back and forth here, but I will share that we are currently working with several trustees and on our website. I actually am on one of the committees. There's also a commission over with me. Correct? Yep. And I will absolutely make sure that that gets done faster than slower. I appreciate that. That should be done.
okay, thank you.
And I can help out too.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Did I see one more hand up or no?
So,
Or what?
Mr. President, there was a email that was received on Friday and forwarded to the board from Heath Tappy.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have a copy in front of you. You want me to read it or?
Go ahead.
It's from Heath Tappy. Thanks for the updated. I do not support vacating this access. It is only in the interest of the person requesting this. This is in regard to the item on the agenda with the proposed discontinuance of Dominica south of Mary Lane. He goes on to say, as I have shared, the villages in Weston, the village is, as I have shared, the village of Weston required me, B&H Homes, take out a new home foundation because we were 3 feet too close to the front yard. We had 27 feet for a front yard setback and we didn't, and were denied. This was my mistake and cost us the price of taking out a foundation and outing a new foundation. I went through the entire process and was denied. I have offered support for some of the drawings that were provided that would allow access for future development, as well as offer additional side yard for the neighbor requesting this. I will be in Canada Monday and not available. I ask that the village deny this request for vacating this right of way until the vacant land that Denyon Homes owns is developed. Thanks for the opportunity to share our thoughts. Heath.
So there we are. Let's see, next on the agenda. I'll just grab minutes from previous meetings, approval of 8/21/2023. Board of Trustees meeting and approval of 9/11/2023 special Board of Trustees meeting.
Move to approve the minutes with minor correction on the meeting description, which was presented to the clerk prior to the meeting.
So motion by Finstel, second by Herman. Yep.
Last meeting, I made a comment about the punch list. One was the sidewalk, the other one was the roof, the small roof, lower roof, the south side of the building.
I believe we added those on the items, on the item list.
The sidewalk was
But it's
No, I
not.
have the
there,
sidewalk.
the roof wasn't there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
All right. So, any more further discussion? All those in favor of aye, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. If the board will jump with me here, and I'd like to move 26 up. Nate's got one of his sporting events very quickly. So if we could bring, and it could be very quick, but that's the only thing you have, right? Yeah. Yep, so it's under reports from departments, number 26, technology is already in there. Does anybody have any questions of me? None? Anything you want to add?
Jim had emailed about the Evolve upgrade. Jen probably has more on that than,
Oh, okay.
but essentially, we had talked about Marshfield and some other cities that had a more appealing Evolve login page. Jen and I met with David from Evolve. I ended up getting pulled away from that meeting, so she probably has more information than I do.
Okay.
But we would go through a whole upgrade process with Vision and Evolve, and then that will be included as part of that.
I got a question.
Yep.
CCP, September 9th to finish up the Kennedy Park surveillance project.
Yep.
How come that took so long?
Essentially what happened was we needed power at 2 poles, and so we had Scott Tatro get the power there. And then at that point, then they had a lot of school projects they were trying to get finished up. CCCP did. And so we were kind of on the waiting line at that point. Yeah.
Okay. And then who, it's left here, I don't think it's talked about yet, but internet usage and Facebook statistics in the United States, is that you or is that something else? It's a blue form with some yellow highlighting up on top. And I constantly, unless it's just for me, I don't see anybody else's in here. Or maybe it was from a previous meeting, but I'm just surprised that it's even here with it being dated. The most current information is 2010.
Not sure where that came
Oh,
from. Was it sitting on your desk?
It was sitting right here.
But I put the agenda on the computer that wasn't there,
Oh,
so.
okay. And it has nobody's hand. I'm not sure what that came from.
We got ghosts.
All right, and thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Go Evergreens.
Yeah, go trees.
There you go. Go trees.
Yeah.
Trees.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Going for 7 wins in a row.
Where does someone think I'm from? Go Evergreen. Who the hell's he going? Go trees. Wow.
It's rough when your rival's a lumberjack, so.
Yeah, I guess. All right, let's go back then to acknowledge reports, minutes from boards, committees, and commissions. Letters
Acknowledge 10, 11, 13, 14, 15.
by Vince Holt and seconded by Ermeling. All those in favor of acknowledging?
Aye.
Opposed? So acknowledged. Reports from departments, administrator. Oh, drum roll,
So-
drum roll.
I shouldn't have put,
Drum roll, last one.
I shouldn't have put any indication that this was my last report. It's probably gonna jinx something, but it's a time of mixed emotions, I suppose, what I'd say. So anyway, what's that? He wants us, if you,
You're just sitting here.
I got some time.
he's expecting us, anybody expecting a selfie is talking to the wrong guy. Okay, so maybe optimistically, I'm saying it's my last report. Anyway, I'm sorry. I guess I realized here that winding down, I should not be taking on anything new. Trying to get ready to hand things off and I guess right off into the sunset, if you will. So we did meet with Attorney Edie last week to go over some of the outstanding legal items that are still kind of on the docket. Some things to talk about, of course, at the old building and handing off the responsibility in the public safety building to somebody who may not really want the project, but no, we'll take care of that. And then I guess just protocol on how we take care of offers that may come in on the other property. Although we had discussion on that later tonight, I understand, in closed session again. There is a copy of the warranty items that was discussed or has been discussed with Myron over the last month and a half or more. Roman, I know, is following up on a lot of the details on that. But I know we wanted to kind of eliminate everything that wasn't going to involve the architect, and I think we're at that point. So we probably need to set up a meeting for that again, and try to get that done before the end of next week. Work at the public safety building is progressing. If you've been over there, they are in the process of painting metal siding. They're also starting to paint the masonry. Indication is they plan to still be done by the end of the month. I know that's their contract deadline. Was some metal siding that was damaged by a lift over there as they were painting the metal siding on the east side. That's been repaired. Omni's going to take care of the repairs. They also had some overspray on some doors. They're going to repaint those doors at their cost at whatever color we select. I think the bronze color is what's been indicated to be preferred by Everest Metro. And sign package is being assembled. Talked with Tom from Finishing Touch today. He didn't have a specific update yet, but he thinks the second week of October would be their estimated arrival time. So their completion time is really tied into when they can start putting things on the building. So the painting has to be done first. We talked about the Public Administration Associates Compensation Study a little bit at Finance. They're to be presenting that again to the Human Resource Committee first Monday of October. Although we are having a special budget workshop next week, Thursday, according to what was discussed tonight. I suppose we'd have a little more update on that for that meeting if need be. He received a media, or I should say, an open records request on documents related to the Project Timberwolf, which we now know to be Amazon. That's been replied to. Jennifer has replied to some specific questions from Brian Kowalski of the Wilsonian and the city pages. I know President Maloney has also had some contact with Mr. Kowalski. So with there, we have some emails yet to assemble on that, but I don't know if they'll take us up on any other follow-up. They seem to be concerned with perhaps not being open enough in terms of how things were announced, but I don't believe that's going to be a problem as we look back on how meetings were agended and how things were listed on the agenda. So I know they have had some articles in the Weston, or there has been an article in the Westonian already that talked about that. Aside from that, I didn't update the board, and I know I corresponded with Jim on this. Getting back together to talk about options on developer security and development agreements. There was a desire to potentially have a meeting with a representative, say, of a financial institution, perhaps a title company. Paul Durst and I talked probably for about a half hour, a couple weeks back. Also spoke with Chris Fender of Intercity State Bank. I think as long as we limit the discussion to things in principle, they'll be fine. If it has to get into specifics about any particular developer, then it gets more sensitive. So we just can't get into that kind of thing. So I think there's options I suppose the board can consider. There's the most conservative one, which is continue to ask for a bond or irrevocable letter of credit. Or, there's other things I suppose the board can consider, but that would be something we can talk about as far as what those options might be.
So you're saying we can't have a meeting with Heath Tappy? Is that what you're saying?
Well, if we want to have it specifically with him, then I suppose we have to have it in closed session, depending on what kind of information is going to be discussed. I mean, if he's talking about his own finances or things of that nature, then it may require a closed session meeting.
I think that was the intent, right?
The intent was to get, like he said, a developer, a title company, a bank, and the board all at the same table. And it doesn't have to be Keith, it can be a different developer, just to say, what is everyone looking at? How does this impact and affect you? What can we do in the banking realm? What can we do in the title realm? What can we do in the village realm to make it easier for everybody? So the developer isn't stuck, or the bank says, well, guys, you can't do that kind of an agreement, or the title company says, no, we don't know how to do this, or whichever. So we all have a seat at the table to find out what can work. It sounds like the way that we have it might not be the most conducive to growth.
Yep, that's all I have.
That's it?
Well, if you want me to make some kind of a profound speech or something, I guess we can talk about that later, but
If there's a get together planned and if it's supposed to be a surprise, then don't say it now, but then if I'm not invited, that's fine too. I'll get it. Nobody called me, but let me know otherwise if there is something. So
I have one more item.
I'll wait to hear from them. Okay, what?
Is Revi, did we get anything in writing from Revi?
as far as the, you're talking about the landscaping around here. Okay, so as far as what has been discussed so far is that we're at a point in the year where it doesn't make any sense to start transplanting trees or reseeding right now. Their proposal is to extend their warranty in writing and say that they will assess the health of those trees in the springtime, because there have been a lot of instances, I think Sean mentioned them as well, where we planted trees and they look like they're dead in the spring or in the fall. And of course, I think the dry weather has been another factor that maybe doesn't let you really assess the health of that tree, if it will recover. So they want to make an assessment again next spring on that before they go and wholesale replace things that don't have foliage on them or whatever at this point. And then as far as, what is done to rejuvenate or reseed the lawn or the grass area, turf area, that would also be assessed then at that time.
I'm fine with that. I just wanted to make sure that we had something in writing, so they, when we call them next
Can we
spring,
have
they
them-
don't come back
can we
and say,
ask
oh,
them to
your
bring something
warranty's up.
for October?
I'm sorry?
We asked them to put something together for October.
Yeah, we'll be following up with Myron and the other parties, I guess, before then. And should be able to make a report at that time, I would think. Now I'm promising things for other people right now, so I gotta,
Well, it is part of the warranty items or the, I can't really read that up there, but Revi to provide the letter that due to the dry weather, they'll be evaluating next spring and replacing what doesn't. So that's for the plants and the lawn out there.
Isn't that Myron's responsibility to bring him back?
It is Myron's responsibility. So, I mean, they're the ones holding Revi accountable for.
Right.
So any of these items that were made notice to them before the end of our 1-year warranty or whatever that time period is, should be covered, correct? Even if
Right,
they're
as
not
long as they're-
necessarily addressed.
right.
Okay,
And the warranty would be after substantial completion, which was January 12th or 25. I don't remember the exact date. I can find that out.
19, clerk.
Nothing other than what was in my report.
Anybody? Let's see, 20, finance.
Board add, I did have 2024 budget. As a reminder, we are going to be meeting September 28th at 6 o'clock. Hopefully everyone can be there. Let me know if there's any topics that you want to specifically discuss.
Okay. Thank you. Any more? Any none? 21, fire and EMS.
I have a report in the packet. We did lose one lieutenant who went from full-time to part-time, and we have one engineer paramedic that resigned and took a position with Manitowoc Fire Department. His last day was Friday. So we're a couple positions short, and we still have one guy in military leave that is in, I don't remember a country that I can't remember or pronounce. It's a long journey from here, but he's supposed to be back in February. We do talk to him, he's doing well, so we're really 3 people short right now. Other than that, nothing else to report.
Okay. Park and Rec.
I did have a report in the packet, just you didn't catch it, they are planning on installing, working on the new front signage this week. And also one other item that I didn't mention in there, and I know the Park and Rec committee talked about it, but we do have a local band, Tombstone, that plans on using the skate park to film a video. They'd like to do it by the end of October. I did talk to Tom from there last week. He's trying to work with the director and hopefully get something set up once the director gets back from Europe on the 18th. So there'll be a 4 to 6 hour closure in the morning during the week when in school at the skate park. Hopefully we can get that arranged yet this year, and I think the only other thing I didn't touch on is youth baseball is technically done for the season. They held their last round of travel ball tryouts this past Sunday. And I don't believe they're doing any fall ball this year, but they will be doing a fall tear down cleanup day or days yet this season.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sean.
Question.
Question, go ahead, Shane.
On those pickleball court they're putting, where are they putting it?
Who?
Pickleball court.
Who's doing pickleball?
Your plan, isn't your plan, isn't it?
Yeah, so we have plans for pickleball courts at Mockmuller and at Kelly Land at this point.
How far they are from closest resident?
Closest resident, you mean because of the noise?
Yes,
Well, Mockmuller, we're a long ways through the woods. Kelly Land would be across the road. But they, talking to the consultant, they are doing some amazing things with screening as far as the wind and noise reduction.
the noise is a problem, especially by Caroline. If they cross the street, people complain and they don't like it.
The racket?
The
Ball part
noise.
or the?
The noise of the racket hitting the ball
Okay.
is annoying.
Okay.
It does make a hollow, loud sound when they hit the ball.
Yeah, especially when 4 or 5 people playing or 8 people
Yeah.
playing.
It's just constant.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's why Mockmuller was one of the sites that was chose, and the original master plan for Kelly Land was to put it further to the south. along the dog park versus to the north. It still only adds a couple hundred feet of distance, which might not be enough. So, I mean, that's something we could look at for Prosca too. We know there's less residents there, you know.
It is important to make sure it's not bothering the people, it's away from the people, because some area they shut down the court
Yeah.
because of that.
And you wanna be close to water, shade, and restrooms, right? We talked
That's
about
a rare
it, we talked about it quite rare. I know those are three very important things for the football community. And Prospect could definitely be a viable option because of the extra area we have there. We didn't really talk about it just because of the passive use of that part, because it is all wooded ponds, you know, walking trails, biking trails. But there doesn't be an active sport there. And it lends itself to everything pretty much. You know, you could play pickleball and then take a walk around the park or the pond. So,
All right, you want to get at 10 o'clock? All right, please, they asked to be excused tonight, Public Works.
Skip Jen.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Shoot, I'm sorry, and you know what, I got circled too.
Intentional, don't.
You stayed this long, you could still do yours if you want. Yeah, okay, all right. Don't tell this kid that he's late.
The only thing that I want to bring up is, because Travis is here, he did pass 2 of his certifications that he
Excellent.
needs. He will take the next 2 in January. That's how far out they are. And then we also have an update for Stillwater Landing in your packet, and Roman and Travis are here if you have any additional questions.
Travis, what did he, what Travis pass?
UDC HVAC and UDC building.
Okay, not plumbing.
Not plumbing.
Plumbing
So,
and
are you done with
electrical
plumbing?
come later.
Huh? Are you done with plumbing already? Okay, because plumbing, you get sushi. So just so you know, so, good, all right. All right, are we still going here? Oh, you're in the packet, okay.
So we did put a Stillwater Landing update. They are tracking with their,
Okay, so I drive through there a lot. At least 3 times, if not 4 times a week. So exiting about 2 weeks ago, on the north side, coming around the loop and coming down the north side, there's 2 big potholes. I think somebody tried to do something with them then, that's 2 weeks ago. But I saw a tremendously large cement slab. Is that what they're gonna do everywhere? Everywhere. So how many slab-
For each house.
Really?
Each house gets one of those now.
Okay.
That's code. So any of the brand new homes coming in,
How thick is that? That's pretty deep.
12-inch.
Well, geez. And I saw the drilling and stuff for the plumbing and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's all done.
So I mean, I know there was a hiccup last week Wednesday with the electrician replacing 2 of the pedestals. I believe Stillwater Management had failed to inform the occupants of the, I think it was 88 and 6, that the electricians were coming.
104, 2.
104.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so a little bit of a failure there on park management to inform them that contractors were coming. So the contractors were not able to finish the work.
Okay.
So,
And the permits that they've requested are handled, and the one for that office, that's a while ago.
yeah, that's a while ago. I mean, I billed on Friday, I believe, 10 new home permits.
Okay.
So,
What about that, the big structure of some of the roots, the huge bottom parts of the trees that are just kind of pushed back? Is there like 2 spots that still have that, or?
I'd have
Those
to
are on the
check.
Those are on the north
Side, Travis,
north
you were
side
in there.
too. It looks like some got cleaned out, but there's some massive ones that are like 5 feet tall. That's gonna take some equipment to get them out, I would think. So they're pulled up and then shoved back in the woods, or into a tree line, I should say.
Into the tree line there, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No, those will get taken care of just 'cause, I mean, they are, a hazard to people in the vicinity.
Okay. Travis, want anything? No. All right, thank you. Please, I said, excuse Public Works.
It's
I have one more question for Jen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did we, I think Roman mentioned that there was a open house for Fuzzies.
They moved it back, so it's not until sometime in October. So when we find out, they asked for like a temporary occupancy last week because they need to get their staff in there. And they needed temporary so that they could train them. So that's supposed to start the 25th. Originally, we thought they were opening the 25th, so now it's more like first or second week in October. So we'll let you know when we find out more.
I think that's part of the process. I mean, they'll get some trained people there, but you know, it's their way, you know, how do you do it? The whole bit, you know, prepare customers and stuff, so I don't know. I've never seen a trailer used as a interview spot. I've never seen that done. So,
Well, if you guys get anything, can you send that out?
Mhm.
I'd like to be there if I can.
just to help with the revenue.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I'm gonna tell you, I didn't know what to think, but I think that is gonna go over really big. I really do. And a drive-up window too. Right? Oh,
You coming back for that, Keith?
yeah, you
I should. I'm gonna miss out on all the.
Bring your Amazon returns with you.
Yeah, come on, your returns and maybe a poncho and a hat. I'll come pick you up. I'll leave Maryland, bring it out.
Okay.
Let's see, public works, any more public works? No, last question for Jen, yes. All right, technology out, no.
Did you want me to say anything or no?
Yes. Oh, yeah, any more questions for Jen or anyone else on the mic? All right.
Well,
I know.
I had nothing for Jen.
Go ahead.
I guess one thing,
Just real quick, in further notice, I want Michael, I want public works, not alphabetical, I want him first. So you can be first, okay? So then I won't miss him. Okay, all right, go ahead.
I guess similar on the Stillwater Landing side, we've been in contact with them with their planned replacement of their entry road. We have about a 60-year-old asbestos cement water main that runs underneath that. So I guess we're trying to see what the logistics are of trying to replace that before they get to their road. So otherwise, I guess.
And what about the signage structure? Is it still there? I thought it was.
The structure is, that's
The
them
brick
though.
sign, the
Yeah,
brick
sign is still
pillars,
kinda-
the bricks are still there.
Is that gonna be redone in some fashion or? what?
They haven't given us an updated sign plan.
Okay, all right.
That'll be next month's minutes.
Yeah, so we're still, so I guess that's not in here, that's kind of a new development, trying to see what we can do to get that about 1,100 feet of water main replaced. If we can, otherwise it might sit for another, hopefully 20 to 30 years and not break. But we don't have to dig up their road, we'd prefer not to. 'Cause then we have to.
Isn't that set to be blacktop? Are they gonna redo that part?
It is, yeah, so if we can't get through the DNR process to replace the water main in time, then when it comes time to replace that water main, we're digging up their road and having to repave it for them. So if we can do that within their timeline, we're trying to see what the feasibility of that is. I did have it there. And forgot.
Probably stalling for a little bit.
Well, a lot of it's coming down.
We don't have anything from them yet, so
It's gonna come down to weather, really, if they can actually get,
You can do it.
if they can get pavement yet this year or not.
Thanks for coming.
My understanding is they don't necessarily have plans for that. Otherwise, I do have kind of a spreadsheet I provided Public Works Committee last week, Monday, with the various CIP projects, where they're at. I guess we have a consultant selected for them, what their anticipated substantial completion date is. Yes, love going through that. Our street staff has been busy getting through and wedging a lot of wheel rut areas around the village. Primarily found this past spring, a lot of the areas we chip sealed in previous years, they call it stripping, where it kind of just debonds from the pavement. So we've been able to use our milling machine and our asphalt roller and kind of smoothing those out and getting that taken care of. So it's been a lot of coordination. We borrowed patching boxes from Village of Rothschild, Cronewetter, Marathon County Highway Department, and equipment from the city of Wausau. So kind of a big borrowing. not stealing yet, equipment from other communities just to help get our work done, which I guess has been pretty economical and I think improves the ride, so. But this is kind of what it looks like, so I believe this is Mallard Court. So this spring after the wet weather, everything seemed to pop off, so. Go mill it and put a nice, at least a smooth strip down there, so you're not driving through the rumble strips on these
Kind of
streets.
indiscriminate where that appears. Because if you look at Hewitt, where I first turned in, it's off to the left. And
Yeah,
I'm always thinking, is it the sun, is it the heat, what's happening here? Well, that one's right, I don't know if that's on a tire path or not.
yeah, I believe that one is. So I can be done, that was
Just say Roger. Yeah, so-
Roger.
Okay. All right. Reports from departments. It seems like we do this different every time. So we acknowledge it first.
Acknowledge.
The longer you stall, the funnier it'll look. So, by Erling, second by Cronin, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, so carried. See, work product transmittals, acknowledge or August building permits.
Move to acknowledge building permits.
Motion by Pincinel, second by Wyland. Any more in the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Artie, are you still with us?
I'm still here, sir.
All right, thank you. Consent agenda, what's your pleasure?
Motion to approve 171, 369, 90121, and 90124.
By Ermeling, second by Wyland. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, is so carried. Ordinances 31, ordinance number 23-015. An ordinance to approve the rezoning of a portion of 1409 Post Avenue from single family SF-S, single family residential. Small lot to B2 Highway Business Zoning District, Village of Weston, Marathon County, Wisconsin.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Cronin. Second by Pincinel. Hearing any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Resolutions number 32, resolution 2023-015. North Central Wisconsin Stormwater Coalition Cooperative Agreement.
Move to approve resolution 2023-015.
Motion by Pincinel. Second by Wyland. Any more in the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So carried. Unfinished business, 33, update possible action on American Rescue Plan, ARPA funds. This is a placeholder.
I don't think we're any farther.
No, that's just a placeholder.
Farther on this one than we have been, so I,
Sounds good. So we're moving through to 34, update on goals for 2023, 2025 strategic plan.
this is something I need to review with the department directors as I prepare to depart. I'll be reviewing with the department directors in the next 2 weeks as we go through some things on the handoff, so we can report at the next meeting.
Keith and I had several discussions about this, hurry up to get done and having a meeting with Matt to pass on some stuff. And I said, you really need to do that because when you got here, you had a clean slate. There was nothing on your plate. I remember you taking months, really months. You just wandered around. Remember that? Walked around, talked to everybody, brought coffee and donuts in every morning. There was nothing going on. And then it started filling up. So I think you should get this all done, just like you had. You had a
Well,
ton of stuff to do.
it's one of those things, like I said, there's things you'd like to see get completed, but then there's always gonna be those things, so
As you drive away, just kind of chuckle a little bit. So,
I don't wanna do that. I'm not gonna be.
That's all I got to say.
Hmm.
All right, enough of that. 35, discussion and or action on Dominica Street right of way south of Mary Lane. So we had a letter from Heath. I'm under the opinion of doing that partial vacancy. It satisfies Heath, unless Heath wants nothing done until he understands, but I think that satisfies both. I think when you can touch it and feel it and see it, I think the homeowner will be satisfied. I really do. I think right now he's he's pinning the only, and I'm not speaking for him at all. But my opinion is, going through this for so many years, that his only way he sees through this is that exactly the way it is. And I don't know what the rest of you think, and I don't know if this is even, we have the attorney here tonight, correct? Yep. So I don't know if you're both here for this, but.
They are. I understood that Attorney Rundy would be here tonight. I know that he had actually requested that this be deferred again, but I know it was not the desire of the board to do that, so that's why we have this on again tonight. And we can't move forward unless we know what our proposal is. We can't have multiple choice. It has to be, we're gonna do X, which where our proposal is, we've offered is the alteration or partial discontinuance of that piece of Dominica, or whatever the proper pronunciation is, south of Mary Lane. That's according to that one exhibit we put together. We would need a legal description to put in the resolution that that the board was electing then to go forward with the procedure, which is to conduct a public hearing to,
Is this the partial here?
I agree,
yeah, that's the one right there.
Yeah. I do too.
because we can't put off the right way, because we don't know what's happening on the backside of, we don't want to do that. This, I think, should satisfy it. I mean, he's got access.
Yes, very much so.
We kicked the can for over 20 years.
No, my.
I don't wear steel toe boots to kick a can and we're gonna get work done. So I'm gonna make a motion to hire staff, to have staff hire a surveyor to complete legal description, and draft a resolution for the board of trustees to introduce a discontinuance of a portion of Dominica Street, south of Mary Lane, pursuant to statute 66.1003, parent 4 at the October 16 meeting.
Second.
Motion by Pincinel, second by Ermeling. Any more in discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Unanimous. Okay, thank you. 36, presentation of fire chief, well, no, presentation from fire chief Josh, representing you.
Nobody wants that. Yes, so Michael has it and he's gonna pull it up here in a second. This presentation, I apologize, I was gonna do one brand new for this meeting, but I had some stuff come up unexpectedly last week, which took most of my time, so I just did not get to it. So this is a abbreviated version of what I gave to our board of directors in, I believe it was at our May meeting. Mr. Cronin asked me to, at our last Safer board meeting, to bring something to the village board, so that's what we're gonna go over. I'll try to keep this fairly concise in the interest of time. So if anybody has any specific questions as we go through this, let me know, but basically, it's just kind of a 30,000-foot overview. The district has struggled with staffing over the past several years. Our call volume has increased significantly. The first year of Safer's existence in 2014, we ran a little over 2,000 calls. This year, we probably won't hit 4,000, but we're starting to get close. So our call volume is getting close to being double within the last 10 years. Click it. Go for it. Click it. All right.
Yeah.
So right now, as far as full-time staff, we have myself, our deputy chief, our fire marshal, that's Marty. He primarily, 99% of his job is fire inspections. And right now, we struggle to keep up with fire inspections. In fact, we had a couple hundred re-inspections last year that did not get accomplished simply because he just didn't have time. Our EMS division chief resigned, and that position was replaced with a part-time person. So we actually went back a half an FTE there. And we rechanged the name to Director of Medical Services. And we do have somebody new in that position that is doing very well. We have 3 battalion chiefs, 3 captains, 6 engineer paramedics, and then 7 majority time people. Right now, we actually have 5 engineer paramedics and 6 majority time people with those resignations. And then we have the balance of our part-time and interfacility transport staff below that. So right now, Station 1, which is Rib Mountain, we have a captain, an engineer, and a paid on call, so a part-time person working. Station 2, we have a battalion chief, an engineer, 2 majority time employees, and a paid on call. That's what we're That's what we're budgeted to staff. That's 8 people. We have 8 people during our peak time, which is 9 AM to 9 PM. The rest of the day, we have 7. Our minimum staffing is 6, so we won't drop below 6. And it's pretty common that we only have 6 people on duty. Usually we're operating at minimum staffing. And that's simply because of injuries, vacation time, sick time, whatever it may be. So NFPA standards that we should have say that we should have a minimum of 10 firefighters on scene within 10 minutes. Usually we're between 7 and 9 within that time. We do have an agreement with Mosinee Fire District for auto aid. They send us an ambulance for every one of our structure fires, which primarily serves for firefighter rehab. But then it's also there if we need, you know, if we have a victim at the fire or if we have an injury to a firefighter. At the time that this was put together, we requested Riverside and Wassa both for auto aid agreements. At that time, Riverside denied. Wassa was going through with their legal department. Wassa did since approve that, which we talked about earlier tonight at the finance meeting. We're just having some issues getting that into the CAD system right now, which I was actually talking with them about today. Something else did just come about since our last SAFER board meeting even, so I haven't even had time to talk to our board members about it. In fact, it just kind of got finalized today as I worked with Chief Bone from Riverside. And with this new dispatching system we have, basically the way we're gonna set it up right now is that if all SAFER ambulances are out on calls, instead of dispatch calling us and then our battalion chief having to try to pull himself away from whatever he's doing and request an ambulance for mutual aid, the dispatchers will automatically know and they'll just page Riverside. So if our 2 ambulances are out on calls and a 3rd ambulance call comes in, they're not even gonna page us, they're just gonna page them. And vice versa. If Riverside's ambulances are all out on calls and they need another ambulance, they're automatically gonna page us. So just a little bit more efficient. So we're gonna do that for about the next 30 to 60 days and then we're gonna reevaluate so everything's working. So this is over the last several years, the number of firefighters that we've had on scene at structure fire incidents. So it's gone down. The biggest issue is the vast majority of our crews live outside of the district. We only have 2 full-time staff that live in the district. I take that back, we have 3 that live in the district. And the vast majority of our part-time staff also live outside of the district. We have people from Nakusa, Sturgeon Bay, Westfield. A lot of our staff actually travel a fair amount to come into work. So our off-duty response is basically 0. They're all too far away. Comparable departments, just to kind of look at staffing. So I have call volumes and how many people they all have on duty up there. Typically, we use Marshfield is our closest comparable. They have a fairly similar run volume and a fairly similar population size than we do. Their daily staffing is 11 with a minimum of 8. And again, our daily is 7.5, if you want to look at it that way, with a minimum of 6. And you can kind of look at some of the other numbers that are up there as far as what departments have. The big thing here is firefighter workload. So when you look at all of those departments and the actual number of calls that each firefighter has to go on because of staffing levels, our guys go on way more calls than anybody around us. I mean, even though Wassa obviously has significantly more calls, our guys actually respond to way more calls than their guys do, just because they have so many more to spread the workload across than we do. Response times, over the years, our response times continue to increase, which is obviously not what we want. And that's simply because we have more calls. So as we have more call volume, the biggest thing we have is ambulances are going back and forth from one side of the district to the other. So there's calls in Weston that we have to respond to from Rib Mountain and vice versa. And where that really starts to impact us is when we have calls out in, the town of Easton, and an ambulance has to come all the way from Rib Mountain to respond out to that call. Or, we maybe have a call in the town of Statine and an ambulance has to come from Weston all the way over to the town of Statine to respond to those calls. Our battalion chiefs know that if it's something life-threatening and there's a call in the town of Statine, and they need an ambulance like right now, they'll just request Wassa for mutual aid because they can obviously beat us there by probably 10 minutes if we're responding all the way from here. So our battalion chiefs and captains will make those decisions based upon the type of call that it is. A couple other things in there. So again, 78 times in the first quarter, just the first quarter of this year, we've had to, respond from one municipality to the other to cover calls. Mutual aid, so in the first quarter of this year, again, this presentation was done back in March, but in the first quarter of this year, we requested a total of 16 mutual aid requests for EMS. Riverside 4 times and the rest were for the city of Wausau, so about 80 times this year, and we've stayed pretty much on pace for that. So we're gonna have other departments cover close to 100 calls for us this year.
How many departments?
Those two, we request either Riverside or Wausau for mutual aid. Two different departments there, yeah. So we're trying to get up to a staffing of 9. That was our goal for 2024. Right now, our anticipated budget has us at a staffing of 8, so we didn't get to the 9. I talked a little bit earlier too about funding. The biggest issue we ran into is that we were fully anticipating that GEMT funding to come into the fire district for this year. It did not, and I still don't have a firm timeline of when that'll happen. It really depends who you talk to. Some people say, oh, yep, you're gonna get it in 2024. Others are saying, we don't know when or if you're ever gonna see it. So the direction I was given by people that I trust is just don't spend it until you actually start cashing the checks. So that's the approach that we're taking. So right now, for the most part, we're only staffing 2 ambulances most days. The goal, we really need to get up to 3 to reduce that response time, reduce the number of times that we're crossing into each other's municipalities, and cut down on mutual aid. So that's kind of the gist of it. We have a lot of moving parts right now. The biggest hurdles that I think the district has had to face since I've been there is that we've got a staffing shortage. We had and are doing a pretty good job of working on a pay rate issue. We were pretty woefully underpaid. We're getting significantly better on that. Obviously, with all the things that have happened over the last 2 years or so with the pandemic and the increase in wages in the private sector and everything, we've really struggled with that, but we've definitely made some strides. I mean, many of you probably don't know, but up until I believe it was June, at the June board meeting, we passed a pay increase for 3rd shift. Up until then, our firefighters working 3rd shift, so 11 p.m. to 8 a.m., they were only making $13 an hour. So we were asking people to work overnight and get up all night long and not sleep, and we're gonna give them $13 an hour. So it's pretty hard to find people who want to do that. Now they're being paid their full wage, but for most of our guys, our starting pay for a firefighter EMT is $16 an hour. Firefighter paramedic, they get 6% more than that. I think it comes to $16.83. So you really have to stop and think that you can go to 2 years in school and have some not so good work hours and make $16.83, or you can go to Quick Trip and make $18 an hour and not need any kind of training.
And the total increase for the 3rd shift was, what was it again?
It went from $13 an hour to 16, so it was
I know what it's affecting the budget by how much.
Oh, I want to say for the remainder of this year, it was in the neighborhood of $40,000.
Okay. But we did that 3 months ago.
I believe it was June, if I remember right, we did it in June. So, so again, multiple different things going on, the trying to bring payroll, trying to bring pay up, trying to add more staff. There was a budget shortfall, as of a couple years ago, which has been corrected, and now we actually have a nice budget surplus, so we're doing well there. But, just the addition of staff, we're running pretty far behind other departments that are in my mind, somewhat of our competition when it comes to employees, because we're all fighting for the same firefighter paramedics right now. And it's really difficult to recruit people when we say, yeah, you're gonna come here and you're gonna go on more calls and we're gonna pay you less, but you should definitely come and work here. It's a pretty tough recruitment tool. So not that we have to pay the most, but I think we need to be able to be in the ballpark anyway. And the big thing too is workload. Right now, the vast majority of our EMS calls are ran by the same 6 people. Those 6 full-time engineer paramedics go on, I think we figured out it was about 77% of the calls. They're going on almost all the calls, the same few people, because we have to have paramedics on the calls.
You're comparing those wages to like Merrill, Stevens Point, Wausau.
Yeah, Rapids, Marshfield, and Stevens Point are the 3 that I usually look at the most, because they're the closest comparable to community size and call volume.
And Rothschild, we're hired in Riverside.
What's that? I'm sorry?
We're hired in Riverside.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Okay.
That's all I got, unless anybody has questions.
The rest of the board have any questions? You know, you and I have beat this to death, so
So what's your plan for increasing your staff?
My honest answer right now is I don't have a good one because the funding just isn't there. So the big thing that I have been working on, and I've talked to 3 different elected officials, both with the state and federal government over the last 6 weeks. And if this board can help in any ways, if we can get that GEMT funding to come through, that'll make a big difference. You know, all that we are asking for and any fire department is asking for is to be adequately paid for the work that we're doing. Those Medicaid calls that we go on, we lose money. We literally lose money transporting those patients. It does not cover our costs every time we transport a Medicaid patient. So the biggest thing that I have been trying to do, both myself and our deputy chief have written letters to elected officials. I will say that Pat Snyder's office has at least had good conversations with us. They have returned calls, they have returned letters. I did also speak with Tom Tiffany's representative, I believe was last week or the week before. So I mean, we've been making some progress, but unfortunately nothing has actually happened. And the frustrating part for me is, again, that law was passed in 2021 and they said now, you know, EMS service, they're gonna get all this extra money and that's all that everybody saw in the media at that point. And now it's 3 years later and we haven't gotten a dime and nobody can tell us when or if we're actually gonna get it.
So if you ask if something wanted to be added, 2 months ago, we were at a safety meeting over in Ramon. And, you know, we didn't notice it right away, but you and Eric were a little off, you know, and so I didn't know what it was. We didn't really talk about it after the meeting either, but during the meeting, right about at the end, something was said or somebody asked you, I can't remember how it actually got there, but then Eric said, after this, we're both working third shift.
Oh, yeah.
And you were doing it to give others a break.
Yeah.
And I mean, we walked outside, you gotta be kidding. You know, you worked all day, you did this meeting, and you were in actually not bad mood. Something was wrong. I could tell something was wrong. I'm sure in the back of your mind, you're thinking, holy crap, we gotta be here all night, all for the next day. And, you know, it just hit me and I'm going, this is crazy. I mean, this is just crazy, you know, and I know you did it to help out some of the other ones too, so that it wouldn't be so continuous, but my hat's off to you guys. I mean, it's a changed fire department from years gone by. I gotta tell you that, and I hopefully I say it enough. I think the crew, I think both areas are just doing incredible. I think it's strengthening our 2 municipalities, and we got a hell of a team there. And I did not think that years ago. I was extremely boisterous, pretty ugly on some tapes, and I think it's working really well. We got a heck of a team over there. You know, we do these inter-facility transfers. I mean, you might get called up to Ashland and then run somebody down to Madison or over to Manitowoc or whatever, Milwaukee. And at first, the crew didn't want to do that. That's not their passion. They weren't being called out, you know, saving someone. They were, you know, transporting with service, of course, and, you know, keeping these patients well. And they didn't want to do it. And there was a little backlash to it. And Eric and Josh talked to the battalion chiefs and got them together. And I mean, we're being paid $21 to $24 a mile, right? $21 to $24 a mile. And I mean, it's
Plus a base fee.
Plus, yes. And I'm going to myself, oh my gosh. And I don't mean this as a joke, but I've said it before, you've heard me. Boy, if you want the chrome, you will jump on board that baby, I'll tell you. And we're normally the second call, you know, sometimes Weston has no impact. They probably do a lot.
Weston doesn't do them.
They don't do it. Okay,
No.
so we're probably first call.
It's Aspirus Medevac and
Yes.
Marshfield Clinic, and if they don't have
What do you
crews
estimate
available, they
those
call
dollars?
us. What's that?
What do you estimate those dollars in here?
It's in the neighborhood of 350 to 400,000.
Yeah, that's a tremendous, and it's really helped everything that we're doing. And so for a little while there, even you and Eric were going, we're not doing this no more.
Yeah, it's a contentious thing because they are not I mean, most people sign up to do 911 ambulance calls.
Yep.
And the majority of the crews do not like Mark said, is that you get a call at 2 a.m. and a lot of times we're in the Northwoods. It's Minocqua, Tomahawk, stuff like that. And usually they'll come back either here to Weston or to Aspirus. But we do also get, I mean, we'll do like a Ontonagon, Michigan. Aspirus has a hospital up there. We might pick somebody up there and take it to Milwaukee. I mean, you're gone all day long.
And if you don't take that call, you know, percentage wise, you'll start not getting. And,
Correct.
But it happened within a month, and all of a sudden the whole change was there, so hats off to, you and Eric and your staff. What you guys are doing there.
One thing I want to add, and I don't know if law enforcement does it similar, I've actually never asked Clay, but fire departments, and we've struggled with this quite a bit over the last several months just because our staff is so, I mean, if we have one, like, we had one of our battalion chiefs tore up his knee, he finally just came back to work Saturday. But if we have one person off on an extended period of time, that really puts a strain on our schedule, because one person for us makes up a lot of shifts. So we do order-ins. So we have a list and it's by seniority, and then once you take one, you get, you're basically back at the bottom of the list. But like tomorrow morning, the crew going off, if somebody calls in sick and nobody will volunteer to come in and work overtime, somebody's not going home. It's their day off, but they are not going home. They're staying to work another 24 hours.
Yeah, and I've never heard that.
And they don't have an option.
The last meeting, I think you and Eric were saying that there is mandatory.
Right. The only time that they will get, that they would be allowed off is if they had pre-approved PTO. So they were leaving on vacation the next day and they had PTO, then we cannot order them in. But if they don't have PTO, it doesn't matter if they have a childcare issue or they had a doctor appointment or what might be going on, they're working. There's no other option, so.
Isn't that make him quit the job?
Well, it isn't ideal. Most fire departments do that. City of Wausau does the same thing. But they have, obviously, we have 15 full-time firefighters. They have 73, I think now. So obviously they can spread that workload out across many more people than we can. Our pool is much smaller, but there isn't an option. If nobody volunteers to come into work and we fall below minimum staffing, we have to do something. So it's fairly common in the fire service to have that policy, but usually you don't have to enact it. And then the other thing that has changed over the years is, 20 years ago, there'd be an overtime shift and 10 guys would fight over it. Then it was by seniority and the most senior person got the overtime because everybody wanted the overtime. Now, work ethics and people have just changed a little bit. Now people don't usually want the overtime anymore. So now the order and policy is being used more than it had to be used in the past.
That's why it's just a few that are doing the ridiculous one.
Yeah.
How many times a month are you and Eric staying overnight?
Not frequently. I would say a total of once or twice a month. And usually, honestly, it's Eric. He usually volunteers to do it. I mean, I always say that I will too, but he says he will, so he usually does them. That night that Mark is referring to, Eric actually worked 48 hours straight. He worked 2 days in a row because we were short. I worked at 24, he worked at 48. But, and neither one of us actually hate doing that all that much. As long as it doesn't become repetitive. If I gotta do it a handful of times a year, it isn't too bad. But we also had an instance here just a month ago. Our battalion chief that was on duty, his wife became suddenly very ill, ended up being admitted to the hospital, was pretty sick. So he had to leave, and him and the paramedic working over at the other station were the only 2 paramedics on in the district, and we have to have a minimum of 2. And Mark, his name was Mark, he sent we have an app that we message everybody with. He sent an app to the 4 people that could potentially come in and cover for him, and Eric was the only one. My wife was out of town. The one other person that could come in and cover was in Minnesota on vacation. So if Eric would have been out of town, we would have had a problem. So it's just, we're always kind of operating by the skin of our teeth, it feels like.
I think something that's been discussed, that got brought up at our last SAFER meeting was, and I think Husheng, you had asked us, how do we fix the staffing problem? The city of Wausau just went through a SAFER grant, which I don't know if you want it, you might be better at explaining that than I am.
Yeah, so we've talked about that.
Excuse me, if you want to make your staffing, you gotta take care of your wages and you gotta bring more people so you don't put pressure on the people. Because the pressure is make the staff to resign.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue we have right now.
So everything has a limit and every person has a limit. You push them to that limit, they're gonna walk away, that's it. And there are other people gonna hire them.
Oh, yeah.
If there was abundant amount of the people, you won't have that problem. So I think my recommendation is improve your wages and improve the working condition. That's gonna help you out a lot to bring your people in.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, that's the goal, but obviously the budget constraints come along with that. That's where we always run into the.
You're giving them, they have a say they have a committee now. I mean, there's an awful lot of back and forth, which was never happening before. Never. I think the conditions are actually good, except it's the amount of work, the amount of overtime, the people not there, and then the wage. Yeah, you hit a nail. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet.
Very, very good. Good job. Let's see. 37, discussion and or action on Weston Avenue, Bryan Street to CR County Road J, change order number 1.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Zagami. Second by Wyler.
This is actually reduction.
Okay, that was, yes. Any more on the discussion?
Yes.
Yes?
Why is there $11,500 in mobilization costs? Are we still bringing the old material in?
Instead of erosion mat, which is rolled out and essentially just guys rolling out the mat, putting stakes in, they have specialized mulching and crimping equipment that will walk around the site and kind of shoot the material out and it'll stick. So they have, I guess, more equipment to bring in, but it's less labor hours of people manually doing the work, which is why there's a cost saving. So that's.
But that 11,500 makes sense to you? That was a legit number. It seemed.
We went back and forth. It was higher. I think they started at like 20. So we got it down.
We're still using Integrity, right?
Yeah, it's their sub. I think it's Smith Restoration is their sub consultant, but yeah.
Where are they out of?
I honestly don't know. It's who Integrity has under contract, so. I know we asked around, it is a specialized kind of DOT highway mulching machine that they use. One of the on-site reps from AECOM who started on Weston Avenue, I forget where he is, he's somewhere up north on a site. And he saw the crew using that and was like, hey, that looks pretty slick, that's going pretty quick. What could we get a reduction in our price if we did that? Which is.
And Integrity, that's the only thing Integrity is doing on this job.
Yeah, they're the general contractor, so they do the water sewer install, they're doing the major earthwork, but then they have
Are they also on Amazon?
they are, yes.
As a rule of thumb, anytime there's a reduction, you can recuperate 100%. I don't care what you do. Because they got a lot of things they bring up, mobilization, change of equipment, just name it. So you just gotta negotiate, get the best out.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you, Hardinger. 38, discussion and or action on effective date of stormwater rate increase.
Move to approve.
Motion by Zagami. I'll second it. On the question, hearing any more questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Also carried. Hey, can you, excuse me, Jessica, can you? 28, wow, right? Hey, can you just put on there, I have a question, I forgot to ask it tonight, the garbage containers. The increase.
Okay.
So, let's see, and I just want to know the dollars, what, 10, 20 would be. 39, discussion and or action on 23-27 draft capital improvement plan. Motion to approve by Ermeling. Second by Zagami. On the question. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 40, discussion and or action on maintenance contract for municipal building and public safety building. Come on, Jasper. Motion to approve by Wyland. Second by. Oh, missed it. Hearing, any more on the discussion?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Are we only setting it to Bassett or is there anyone else qualified that can do this?
We have reached out to Melbrit and they said that they would get in contact with us to set up a date. And they have failed to do that over the last month and a half. Now, I put this out here, okay, just so that we have some discussion about it, okay? When Scott left, it was his recommendation that we go to an outside service company for the new building. Okay, so this is our first quote that we've gotten from anybody, okay? So it's really, and everybody got, it was attached to the agenda, correct? Okay, just making sure.
See that, maybe
I couldn't,
I was gonna email it out separately and I forgot.
okay,
So what's the dollar amount?
so I emailed, yeah, so I've got the safety building and the municipal center in there as two separate items. I emailed them to Michael, so hopefully he can pull those up. Safety building is $5,000 annually,
And this was 20.
20.
And what contract, we didn't have a contract to build building.
We did not, it was a fix it when it was
How
broke.
often does this contract specifically in this building, how often are we touched?
It's
Physically touched.
it's semi-annual, but due to the volume of equipment in here, Tim anticipates someone will be on site on a monthly basis to go through each piece of equipment twice a year.
By themselves,
There's gonna
not
be,
teaching or mentoring somebody else.
there's gonna be a primary and a secondary technician for the building.
So air conditioning, we have condensers.
Yes,
So who's blowing out all the pumps? They are,
they are.
so they're gonna do the pump at least
Yep.
twice a year. Okay, that's a big
It is.
job.
Unfortunately, they're way up in the sky, so hopefully we don't get too much blown up. But it's a bigger issue over on the safety building, the condensing units over there.
It can't be missed.
No.
Is there a checkoff list?
Yep, no, they document everything and those, they send out reports for those. Bassett was extremely thorough with their proposal. So that was, both Travis and myself. Yeah, Johnson, that's right, Johnson Controls was here and they spent maybe a quarter of the amount of time Bassett spent on
Does
site.
this include the generator too?
No, generator is separate, that's a separate company that does it.
And contract?
Currently, our contract is up over at the safety building. Cummins down on Camp Phillips handles that, and their contract is up this year.
What's this?
This one is
Generac?
Generac, so it's gonna be Walter Power.
What do
So,
we pay for that? To have them come.
Well, how much the
Curious.
generator is what, 120, 130 grand, 150?
well, a brand new one,
Well, that was brand new.
Yeah.
That was a used.
that one gets used every week,
And that's just testing,
just
and
testing.
it doesn't have, I don't think it has to be every week.
That's what the system's set up to
So
do.
brand new ballpark number was.
I don't know exactly what that was as a line item.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna, I mean, it's gonna be a lot. So, the service contract actually for the safety building on that, was actually not that much.
The Cummins.
Yeah, on
But we've
the,
had that, we've already had that.
Yep.
That's already happened, so how much
Yep.
is this service contract?
I've gotta get in contact and get that from Walter.
Oh, we don't know it yet?
No, I don't have that one yet,
The,
because it's still under warranty.
yeah, the first, yeah, while it's under warranty, that's all covered. Is that a 1 year or 2 year with the building?
Most of the
Are they
items
teaching
are two.
us how to handle it?
Oh, yeah.
On site,
Yeah, I mean, I've
Okay.
gone through all the training with,
so train the trainer.
Yep.
And just keep going.
Yep.
We have similar things for the generators for all of our lift stations and like well houses.
Who does that? Do we have a third party do it or we?
We've generally just taken that over after the warranty periods have expired.
I know the safety building, I'm pretty sure that one requires a load bank test. It's done on the safety building generator every year.
The cost of that maintenance for the safety building is $970.
Annually.
A year? Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, this has got it.
And how does that integrate into your, I don't know, computer maintenance, overall?
Like the asset management.
Yeah, that thing. So Bassett can tie into your system and say, we did X, Y, Z on this, on condenser 174 on July 4th.
You could give them access to it, yeah.
That's definitely,
I think that would be a good
and they can
idea.
prove it when you're asking. to get it.
And same with the
They can
public
show you
safety.
Who did it, who signed off on it, everything. Okay. What, just for, how many fire hydrants do we have here?
Only fire hydrants in the village?
Really? Or in the,
I mean,
no,
start you, but.
no, so
You
in
know.
the,
I mean.
Yeah, in the village of Weston, we have.
No, this building.
Oh, this building.
you mean sprinklers?
Oh, actual things that you hook up a big hose to and put the fire on. So we have 3 at DCFS. That's a monster building, right? 3 or 4.
Yeah,
And how many of this?
you have the one.
Wow.
Sprinkled.
Yeah, the whole building's
But,
sprinkled.
well, I know.
I guess technically we have a hydrant. There's
Yeah,
a building here, across the street there.
There's two.
There's one down in the corner here too.
Yeah.
I don't know at all.
I've got a 1,300 square foot home and I've got 2 fire.
Most of DC Everest is not sprinkled.
But I think they put the number of hydrant based on the amount of the hose the fire truck is carrying. Usually 400 feet. That's what the interval is on the street. So if they can do that,
One primarily because. So that's just a big cement speed of water. All right, enough. of
Do we
that.
wanna bid this out? I mean,
I mean,
what,
we can definitely do that. What's your pleasure? I mean,
well, we have a motion on the floor.
I thought you did that for me.
this is just the one contract that we have. If you'd like additional contracts, if you'd like to send it out to bid,
I think we could take a month on this.
I think so.
I think
There's
so
already a
too. I
motion.
agree.
There is a motion, so
I reset my motion.
Sagami is rescinding, and who?
Well, Jamie was the first one, yeah.
Rescinding too. So on the rescinding, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed?
Nay.
So carried, and now on the original motion. Or did we just do that?
I need a new motion.
A new motion to pause this for a month, or what's another word for it?
well, I think we need to,
Can you just say
deny
yeah,
the
why don't you give me another word?
well, the contract isn't in the minutes. That was sent via email, so.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
So we could just make a motion to send this out for bid.
Yep.
I'll make that motion.
All right, by Corin,
Second.
second by Zagami. All, hearing nothing else for discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right. It is not 8 o'clock. Wow, 7:45. Thank you. Let's move to, motion to move to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin stat 19.85. Regarding deliberating or negotiating public properties, investment of public funds, or conducting other specified public businesses. Whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session to a Wausau Area Convention and Visitors Bureau contract. And also discussion and or action on acceptance of purchase of property at 5500 Schofield Avenue, Weston, Wisconsin. Roll call vote.
Maloney,
Aye.
Sagami,
Aye.
Cronin,
Aye.
Ermeling, Hardinger,
Aye.
Pincinel,
Yes.
Wyland,
And that motion was originally by Ermeling and by. I need a second. Sure. So it was Ermeling and Wyland on the motion to get it up, and I forgot because I asked for the, sorry.
that's okay.
All right, so now we're in closed session. Possible action on closed session items, hearing.
Jasper wanted to call.
Afterwards or just this?
He wanted to call, I assume.
He said something like that, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, he wants to see if we decided something,
Yeah.
so. Fine. So,
So no action on any of
is
these
that J
items.
with a J? Or Jasper? Thank you. I can't wait to get a track map. I want to get a track mode. I want to just get an old track mode. God, I want one so bad. But I don't want one in style. I want the old. All right. So possible action on closed session. We have no action to report.
Correct.
Oh, okay, we're gonna wait. Jasper, you there? No. So you'll actually,
He asked us to call.
I don't have to ask you to tell me.
I'll let you know when he's.
All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Done. Possible action on closed session items. We have no action on the Wausau Area Convention and Visitors Bureau contract, and discussion and or action on acceptance of purchase of property at 5500 Schofield Avenue, Wisconsin. Attorney referrals, we have none. Staff referrals, any staff referrals? Yes. Okay.
On the EMPD and safer minutes and agendas,
Oh,
we can
yes.
get those posted.
Okay. Am I doing that?
I think it's staff referral.
I'll take care of
We
it.
have 20 Metro. I don't think there is anything for 2023.
We've got.
Well,
we've got
as
all-
commission, but
So at one point in
We have
time,
all safer stuff. We have tons of.
a few months ago, Chief Schultz sent me an email with a whole bunch of agendas and minutes, and that's what you're seeing on there because I gave them to Rachel and she put them on there, but I can reach out to Becca and ask
Yeah,
her.
just get the current stuff.
Yep.
Get it going.
I can do that
Thank
and
you.
keep the communication open
Yep,
to get
that's
that
great,
on.
great, great. Any more? Jim? Well,
I've got one.
just- can you just-
Sure.
Sure.
No additional staff referral.
Okay, we've got somebody pretty urgent over here. Go ahead.
Go, no, if you're going around Robin, you can go over there.
We're gonna go back.
Okay,
Go ahead.
fine. Who's writing the agenda for next month with, cause is it Keith who normally writes it? Or?
Pam normally,
I put it together, yeah, and everybody gives me their items.
Can we put the punch list for the municipal building as a separate agenda item going forward until that's over with? So it's not on his report.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think that's gonna get lost.
You're back. Are you done?
I'm done.
Jamie, sorry.
Yeah, I was just curious, do public comments have to relate with an agenda item or?
Anything, it can be excruciating. We can put a 5-minute time limit on it.
Yeah.
And, but I thought we were gonna get a lot more today, and then I thought we were gonna get a lot more during yours. But I might have confused the living hell out of them by moving all over the place, so if I didn't know when to start talking.
Trustee?
Yeah, no, you're up for referral.
No.
Okay, Barb.
No.
Stephen Mark from Trustees, let's start this all over.
I do. Just want to thank Keith for your lifelong service to the village. Wish you all the best on the golf course or whatever your other retirement ventures are from here. Yeah, and then can we also add an agenda item for October for a formal discussion on adding assessments to the village website? And finally, the striping in the parking lot looks nice. I don't know when that appeared, but it's here today. It wasn't here last time I was here. And I saw the gate was closed last weekend.
I bet you'll hire signs on.
So
These 4 signs, I would.
that is all.
Okay. Mark. So, Steve?
I don't have anything else.
Okay.
I do. They're working to put the pickleball court in Kellyland Park. I strongly suggest not to do that.
You know, I don't wanna feel like a knucklehead. Where's the Kelly Lake Park?
Jasper just logged in too.
What?
Hey, I'm back.
It's right across the street from
It's
Cody
on
and it's
Rogan.
Schofield Ave.
Oh, right there, that little teeny park.
Yeah.
That little teeny park.
No, wait. I'm sorry.
Dog park.
Land is by the dog park.
Dog park.
Dog
park.
I'm sorry. Stand corrected.
Isn't it Rogan Park?
Yeah, it used to be Rogan.
Oh, that's a big park. Okay, all right. All right.
That all has to come before you. It's
Okay.
coming as part of his
I
court
don't want him
plan.
to spend the time on it at all.
Well, it's already done, so it'll have to come for comments.
Now I gotta go to a pickleball, and I wanna sit there, grab a cup of coffee, and listen.
Take my word.
Oh, yeah, there's all kinds of complaints down there.
Yeah, go to Marathon Park. That's the first time I heard it. I guess there's one in the middle of it. I was at
Like Kelly, where did you
the
hear it?
craft fair and I could hear it. There's
Where?
one at Marathon Park, you can hear it.
Don't we have a pickleball court? Weston?
No.
So I gotta go to Marathon Park.
There's one by me
It's Pirates, right?
there.
That's why. Do pickleball there.
They do it in the
Do a
gym
racquetball
at
court.
the Y.
Inside.
Calls me weekly to get a pickleball at Kennedy.
They do inside at Green Tech. They used to. I don't know. They had leagues there. You could ask Dave. Dave was big in
Wherever close to
pickleball.
the resident,
You know what it is.
we shouldn't do that.
Alright, that's, I'm glad you said something. Or we get.
I've been
we get
around-
fur one.
I've been around this sport, I designed the court,
Yeah,
I understand the pitfall for it.
yeah,
And this is not good idea to put it
Okay.
close to people.
okay. Well, look at, we had.
And sound barrier and all that stuff is not gonna work.
Popular, and we moved it into the woods. Remember by,
Yeah,
I also.
that was my neighbor. Yeah.
Yeah, You guys
It was
apparently,
my neighbor. He had
that
like,
was crazy.
Yeah, no sound barrier, it's not gonna work.
Okay. Perfect.
Like, other than telling Keith about it.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck and all
Congratulations on
that, and all
Dallas.
that stuff and hope
And
you
I
you
really,
haven't
if you guys don't
regretted
know
my
me, that's fine, I'll understand.
taking the
I'll be
position.
hurt just a little bit, but I won't show it at a meeting. Anyway, I'll just call them myself and take the rest.
I hope he wasn't,
Yeah.
was happy with the decision of it.
Oh, it's your
Well, I
fault.
appreciate the
I
sentiments.
think he is.
Jim also.
Yeah,
I
we
don't know
talked
that I
about-
want to spend a lot of time on the golf course because I'm
Yeah.
not, I've gotten worse and worse over the years, so, you know, it's
It could be.
getting more frustrating.
I don't know what it could be, you know, so maybe a little less of this, I'm getting older. He does like family and
Not
fishing.
so much. Wednesdays, so the 1-year-old will come over now, but yeah, I got some of the golden comments yesterday.
I'm trying to find.
Favorite time with grandpa is when he takes him fishing and, yeah, so.
I'm trying to find a garage sale that has a whole bunch of polls, if I'm saying it right. Repealers, polls. I don't even like fishing, but I just like looking at them, I like it all over. I think they're so cool. Anyway, congratulations. So, future items, next meeting is, next meeting is actually September 28th on Thursday, 6 o'clock. And then Monday, October 16th at 6 p.m. And possible future items, September 28th. Motion to adjourn by? Me, and second by you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Yeah, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
Aye.
Good seeing you.
8:10, Jamie, not bad.